What's up, guys? It's Andy, and today I have a Gideon update for you and kind of an outlook on what this channel is going to look like for a little while. If you watched my last video, my part 3 of Finding My First Horse series, at the very end, you would have seen that I have indeed already had the vet come out. That video was mostly filmed last week, Saturday, when it was the day after he arrived. And now he's been here a week. The vet had come out this past Tuesday after a couple days. And I have some interesting information to share with you. So let's go ahead and get started with this update. All right, so I have my computer in front of me, and what I have here is the information from the vet on her thoughts about Gideon. It initially started out a lot worse than I anticipated it going. As we walked up to the arena, she's like, he's dead lame. You're not going to be able to ride him. What is his return policy? As a professional, I know you don't want to get people's hopes up about, bad situations. However, that is not the way to start an evaluation of a horse, okay? Like, let's try to look, glass half full type mentality, okay? So that freaked me out right away because I'm like, I have a pasture pet. Oh my God, like, what do I do? And we'll kind of talk about my thought process with that a little bit later. That is not the case, at least not right now. The way things are looking right now. I'll just kind of go through the vet's note. I'll try and pull out what I think is the important information. They kind of did a history on like where he came from, how Dr. Peel had looked at some spinal x-rays before he came and thought it was fine. They think he's really nice. They said he's really tight through the neck, especially on the right base of the neck, where the shoulder comes in. That was moderately tight and painful. He has swelling and mild pain over his fifth and right ribs on the right side, which could have occurred during trailering. Tight through the thoracic spine, minimal pain though. Very painful in the lumbosacral region. Visible knots through his apaxial muscles and gluteals. Pelvis is tipped significantly higher on the left. Moderately painful through the left hip. Front limbs were totally fine. Hind limbs were totally fine except for the cuts that he got from trailering. So obviously there's some inflammation and heat there until those heal up, which they are actually healing really nicely. Most of the scabs have come off and the pink skin is underneath, ready to grow some hair. Let's see. Minimal joint effusion of hocks and stifles, so that's good. Feet are shod. I did say in my last video that we were going to take the shoes off, but they recommended keeping them on until we get him rebuilt correctly, just to reduce any other factors that could make him sore. Then they did lunge line. They said 2 out of 5 lame in the hind legs, right worse than the left. He's very short-strided, very braced through the back and sacral region with no motion. Very tight and guarded, moves his legs like a sewing machine. I don't know if she means like this, but he's kind of hoppy. And it's like everything that I should explain here a little bit. So he's so tight through the tops of his hip and his gluteals. There's no muscle in between. So he appears off because he's so short-strided, because those muscles are so tight he can't really reach forward. So it's not like he has a skeletal issue that is causing him to not be able to move correct. I don't know how to describe it, but like it's all related to like what's going on with the swelling and tightening in the hips. Let's see. Very willing to go forward in the trot, struggled in the canter both directions. This was an issue. He cross canters on the lunge line in one direction and is hard to keep moving. It's really hard for him. He's hurting. Like, he's in pain, so of course he can't canter on a 20-meter circle. Like, it's hard for him. Says he becomes frantic and unbalanced, which, it is what it is. Flexions, normal. Negative, both hind distal limbs. Mild positive in the hocks, but again, he has cuts and abrasions and he's sore. So I may have the vet come out in like 1 to 3 months from now to redo this, because I think there were a lot of factors playing into this exam that we're treating now, and that hopefully will have a better examination upon re-examination. Moderate positives in the stifle crossovers. He was really resistant to it. Again, though, we're not addressing the source of the problem, so I want to have pretty much everything redone once we assess and address the source of the problem and see what they come back as. So her opinion, her kind of objective section, suspects that he has an old pelvic injury. We had to ultrasound him internally and externally because we cannot x-ray horse hips. Very mild changes on the left hip with slight increase of fluid in the joint, but also around the joint, so inflammation, sensitive to ultrasound in that area. Let's see, possible bruising in that area. And let's see, mild changes around lumbar facets with mild bone remodeling, but she doesn't suspect that is having anything to do with this. That's just something that can happen over time. Dorsal sacroiliac ligaments were all within normal limits. Left side of the pelvis is more narrow, but there's no bony calluses. L5 and L6, as well as the L6 and S1 intervertebral disc space, was narrow, but no bone remodeling seen. And this was, I kind of talked about, I don't know if I talked about this in my last video, but so I got to learn while they were doing this how to read ultrasound. So that was really cool. So she showed me the more she got into the sacral region leading down to the tail, the better his vertebral spaces were, which I thought was actually interesting. So I'm wondering if because he doesn't use his hind end right now because it's so painful, that he's managed to preserve that area within the spine, and the other parts of his spine are taking a bit more of a hit. So hopefully with chiropractor, he will be able to move properly and will help him there. They were so a little bit narrow, but the depth was fine and nothing was touching. So that's the important part. The intertransverse joints were within normal limits, as well as his sciatic nerves. They were normal size, no bone remodeling of the ilium. So this was like the best ultrasound results we could have hoped for. Just identifying some internal inflammation areas and finding that there is no skeletal problems. He does have a pelvic shift, but the bones themselves have never been broken. They are not currently broken or fused incorrectly or anything like that, because that would have been a death sentence. Not really. I would have made sure he was a pasture pet somewhere. But you can't fix broken bones that have fused incorrectly in a spot like the hips. It's just not possible. So then her recommendations came in. This is the sad part. Lunging only for 1 month to avoid aggravating back pain or having him get crabby. Also no tack. Literally just lunging. So I have been free lunging him and then also lunging him on the lunge line. I kind of go back and forth because he can guide his own direction free lunging on what he's comfortable with, and then I can work those muscles on the lunge line. So then the vet recommended some medications, so muscle relaxants and anti-inflammatory short term. So we're doing 15 methocarbamol twice a day for 7 to 10 days. We chose to go with 10, and then 10 tablets twice a day for 10 days, and then call with an update. She'll probably wean him down further if he's doing well. And then she also recommended an Equiox tablet every day until further notice for anti-inflammatory purposes. She wants us to monitor signs for ulcer. He did get ulcer guard when he came. I've never used ulcer guard before, and I know the total tube is 2.8 grams, and the previous owner had been talking to me about doing 2.8 grams for a certain amount of days and then, cutting it down, whatever. My trainer said they usually just do 1 dose upon arrival. Every barn has their own anti-ulcer prevention, and especially in a horse that's never had ulcers, he doesn't have a history of ulcers. So I just gave him the whole tube. Which, I mean, he's big enough, it's fine. The minimum dose is 1/4 of that tube. So I just gave him all of it. And he hasn't shown any signs of ulcers. He's not sensitive in the girth area. He's eating fine. He's anxious all the time, so it's whatever. But so we're gonna keep monitoring him for that. She recommended MagnaWave for relaxing the muscles, chiropractic exam, being careful with the pelvis to give him some relief, and then finding someone who does body work to help break up the tension in the muscles. She thinks we can help with some pelvic realignment. I'm hoping that's the case. We're keeping the shoes on through the summer, and to call if he has any worsening of symptoms. So I was really glad that this vet bill was under $1,000 because we did a lot of stuff. They were there for 2 hours, and I just wanted to make sure that we did as much as we could to find out as much info, and whatever the cost, man, whatever the cost. So that is Gideon's diagnosis. So let's kind of discuss what I'm doing with him, what the plan is, and how we're going to move forward. So I will continue lessoning every week using other people's horses, pretending like I don't even own my own. He is getting worked on the lunge line and free lunging like 5 days a week minimum at this point. And I'm happy to report that the medications are working. Even after just 3 doses of the methyl-carb, he is allowing us to touch his butt, touch his tail. I even brushed his tail, which was like a huge thing because he was really sore about it. So fingers crossed. So far it's going well. I free lunged him the other day. He scared himself because he has to put everything in his mouth, and he knocked over a fake tree that we have in the indoor, and he scared himself, and he took off running, and he threw a buck, which I, of course, was like, oh my God, he's going to injure himself again or make himself sore. But then I thought, like, I've never really seen him, like, throw a normal buck when he's playing. So I thought that was a good sign. He was choosing to do some cantering on his own, and he was doing both leads, and he was not cross-cantering, and he just had the floatiest trot. Like, he was trotting real fast and was going to go into canter because that's easier for him to do than maintain a floating trot. And then I think he realized that it like didn't hurt him to do that. And so he just kept going, and he had like all 4s off the ground at the same time, like run. It was awesome to see. So kind of his outlook right now, we don't know. It's up in the air. Worst case scenario, he has to be a pasture pet. And let's discuss this in more detail, because I think this is an important thing, that there are 2 very polarized sides on this discussion. So let's dive into it. What to do if your horse has to be a pasture pet? There are some people who say, if you truly love your animal, you will keep it as a pasture pet. And then there's the other side that said, if you're not doing what you want to do, you should find something that can do what you want to do. So let's kind of explore this. On one hand, I could not imagine getting rid of him. I love him. He loves being groomed. He loves being played with. He enjoys baths. Him and the farrier were like loving on each other. He loves to cuddle. Like, he's just this amazingly well-behaved horse. The farrier said he has never met a stranger. Everybody is a friend to him. And I struggle with the idea of him not being mine. Let's look at and horses aren't, being an equestrian is not all about riding, right? Like, there's still so many things you can do. Let's look at the other side, which is kind of more where I'm leaning, whether that makes people angry or not. I've waited 20 years to buy my own horse, to show and jump and all the things on the ground too, but also the riding. And although I have a pretty well-paying job, it's expensive. Like, that's, I'm at a place where board is pretty reasonable, but to try and imagine then finding another riding horse on top of that, and having two, and he's only 6, right? I mean, he could live to be 30 or 40, probably not 40, but that is a long financial commitment when you're not doing what you really love and when you're not doing what you've waited your entire life to do. So I'm not there yet. We are not there yet. I don't have to make a decision. However, my plan Z, because I've thought through every possibility of how this could go, is that our farrier loves him. And our farrier has 6 acres where he just lets his horses be horses. And I would consider possibly even taking the financial loss of just giving him to the farrier to live out his days, if that is what it has to come to. He was in a big pasture with a herd of horses, and I think he would like that again if he's not able to be a riding horse. I'm trying not to go there yet. So we're just going to see how the next month goes, and I'm going to keep you updated. Let's talk about what we're going to do with this channel in the meantime. We are getting ready to move into our new house. We just closed on it, so Paul is very busy. I'm not going to probably get a lot of riding videos. However, I did want to explore the idea of, like, I have all of my horse computer games, and I just got a gaming computer from when I was like a kid, and I was thinking of doing like a play along with me or like walkthrough series for the horse games that I have. And I wanted to start with one game that I really love. It's a quick one, but it's also the oldest game I own, and even with a good gaming computer and all the updates I needed, I cannot get it to work past the first competition, unfortunately. So I think we will have to sit that one out, but let me know. I've got like 5 to 6 really good horse games, and I think you could still buy them if you wanted to like play. And I think they're the best games I've ever seen. I mean, they don't really make horse games these days anymore. I know there's a couple that I've seen on YouTube that are in the works that are going to be online play, but these are old CD-ROM playing, computer games. So I'm thinking of doing that. Let me know what you think. Send your well wishes to Gideon. He, like I said, is already making improvements. I'm waiting for everybody's opinion. I still have to find a massage therapist person for him. I do have MagnaWave and chiropractor coming out next week, so I'm going to wait till I have everybody's collective opinions to kind of decide like what we think we're going to be able to do with him. Like I said, the vet did not say he is unrideable. She was shocked that the old owners were riding him. I'm really kind of upset about it because he's clearly been sore and in pain, and they rode him anyways, and did not get him the help he needed. So I'm hoping with the help he needs, he will be rideable. So like I said, send your well wishes, and I will start working on some video game walkthroughs, and hopefully you guys kind of like that thing, and it won't be long term. I'm gonna get back to riding videos. I'll put in videos of Gideon and everything here and there, make some updates and everything until we can get riding, and we'll just kind of have to go from there. And I hope you guys will stick along with us and not abandon us in our time of need. So like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye.